Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is this is, of course, a very long-standing policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
Talk about a deer in the headlights. She took so long to not say anything at all, and she couldn't really answer the question because, of course, AOC is auditioning to be the presidential candidate for the Democrats in 2028. She's over in Munich right now, and the irony in all of this is a security conference. They're talking about the world order and just the relationship between the United States, Europe, Asia, and, obviously here they were talking about Taiwan. But before AOC and all the Democrats left, because it's not just her, Governor Whitmer's over there, Governor Newsom's over there. The Democrats, they haven't been able to reach a deal with the White House. So the government is going to go through a partial shutdown tonight, according to CNBC. DHS shutdown, all but certain as Democrats and Trump White House can't cut deal. Department of Homeland Security, and she wants to lecture the rest of the world about security when we can't even get that together here at home. And I get that this right now is struggling the Senate, but let's be honest, AOC probably has, she's up there, probably top 5 national Democrats. She could definitely work and move to get this across the finish line, work with Chuck Schumer, who, again, I get is in the Senate, but she definitely has some leverage over the party. But no, the party's stonewalling for political reasons, and of course, AOC is overseas for political reasons. Well, she actually was teased about a 2028 presidential run, and her response to it was really enlightening.
So when you run for president, are you going to impose a wealth tax or a billionaire's tax?
I don't think that I don't think that anyone, and that we don't have to wait for any one president to impose a wealth tax. I think that it needs to be done expeditiously.
And interestingly, when I wrote about wealth tax recently, and of course the big argument against this is always capital flight, the US is actually uniquely placed to do it because you guys tax on the basis of citizenship, so people can't flee, and even if you change your citizenship, there's basically an exit tax because you have to pay a tax on unrealized capital gains. I learned this just recently.
She could have shut down the 2028 talk right then and there, but she didn't. Perhaps it's because she likes the attention, maybe she likes the media focus being all over her, but personally, I think it's because she intends on running in 2028. I mean, why else would a sitting congresswoman with no military experience, with no intelligence community experience or access to any of the intelligence committees, access to the Pentagon, why would she go speak on behalf of the United States in the Munich Security Conference? I think it's because she has none of that experience, and she knows that's one of her weak spots. Of course, AOC is a former bartender. A lot of people accuse her of having word saladitis, as we saw in that Taiwan answer. She's been accused of being out of her depth and just not having the real credentials you would need to lead the United States of America. So I suppose answering questions at a town hall at the Munich Security Conference counts as foreign policy experience. Perhaps it does to Democrat primary voters, but that's the only reason I can think of why she would actually be over there doing this. And the only other Democrats there, Newsom, Whitmer, are also shortlist contenders. So it really has raised a lot of eyebrows. And not only did she really start talking about her own platform, her own worldview, which is not something we've seen a lot from AOC. Usually we hear a lot of empty rhetoric or, Democratic socialism and rich people bad, tax the rich man. We get those bumper sticker slogans that we're used to hearing, but she actually started laying out her case. But before we get to that, she took digs at Marco Rubio while doing so, which again, I think is indicative of her true intentions here.
First and foremost, I think we need to revisit our commitments to international aid, not just USAID, but the dozens of global compacts that the current Secretary of State and President Trump have withdrawn from. They are looking to withdraw the United States from the entire world so that we can turn into an age of authoritarians that can carve out the world where Donald Trump can command the Western Hemisphere and Latin America as his personal sandbox, where Putin can saber rattle around Europe and try to bully around our own allies there, and for essentially authoritarians to have their own geographic domains. And it actually is the Trans-Pacific Partnership, it is our global alliances that can be a hard stop against authoritarian consolidation of power, particularly in the installation of regional puppet governments.
So she obviously took a swipe at Marco Rubio, who, by the way, is also over there. Now, Marco Rubio, according to the Washington Post, offered dueling visions of the world order in Munich. The potential 2028 presidential candidates will sound off on a range of burgeoning crises as European leaders recoil at America's populist politics. Now, Marco Rubio is on the record saying that if J.D. Vance decides he wants to run in 28, that he will not primary him, of course. 28 is still a few years away, so a lot can change. And even if Marco Rubio holds true to that, there's a lot of rumor, there's a lot of hope that maybe it would be a Vance-Rubio ticket. So it doesn't really matter, because I don't think Rubio is there to, boost his own credentials or to try to subvert the will of the administration. He's clearly there speaking on behalf of the administration. Meanwhile, again, why is AOC there? She's clearly there to just boost her credentials, pad her resume. This, of course, is not really anything in depth because she's not actually accomplishing anything. She's just talking. But hey, maybe to those primary voters in the Democrat Party who only pay attention to the headlines, don't really do their own research, they may be impressed by all of this. Well, as I teased earlier, she did start revealing what will likely be her 2028 platform. But before we get to that, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governors Club. They are Robert Sparkman, always good to see you, Super Romer, Bama Rittenhours, and Super Romer again. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. It's nice to recognize all of those names. I'm glad that you enjoy, and I'm glad that you're here. So AOC's thesis is that income inequality is what leads to the rise of authoritarianism. You're probably guessing there's a lot of irony there already, but let's just hear what she has to say.
Yes, that's absolutely right. I think one of the connections and relationships that is under-discussed, particularly in the security space, is the fact that I believe we're seeing an economy, across economy around the world, including in the United States, that extreme levels of income inequality lead to social instability and drives, in a sense, in authoritarianism, right-wing populism, and very dangerous domestic internal politics. And that is a direct outcome of not just income inequality, but the failure of democracies over decades to deliver. The failure to deliver higher wages, the failure to rein in corporations. The point was just made about antitrust. In the United States, antitrust is such a foundational bedrock value, not just because the ascent of monopolies create the abuse of power in corporations and market power, but there is a level of market concentration and corporate consolidation where a massive company can get so big that its consolidated power can rival that of nation states. In democracies, we have elected leaders. And in massive corporations that then begin to consume the public sector, gobble up these spending, they start to call the shots. And we're starting to see this with some of the billionaire class throwing their weight around in domestic politics and in global politics as well. So it is of utmost urgent priority that we get our economic houses in order and deliver material gains for the working class, or else we will fall to a more isolated world governed by authoritarians that also do not deliver to working people.
Look, I'll give her credit. When she's on script, she comes across as studied, and it was very clear what parts she had memorized, what parts she was prepared for, and then you have that moment, like we started the video with Taiwan, where she's just totally out of her depth, has no idea what to say, and has no real backbone to really lean into her policies, to lean into her worldview, to give an answer, right? Like, if Taiwan is invaded by China, that's pretty basic. If you're running for president, you should know what you would want to do. Of course, she didn't want to answer that question because it would only anger part of her base, or it would give Republicans attack fodder. But again, that just shows her political weakness. What she's really doing is manipulative, because she knows that there's a lot of fear on the left about President Trump being a dictator. He's the next Hitler. He's the next authoritarian. So she's taking that side of it, and then she's always been a populist when it comes to economics and democratic socialism, right? She falls into that Bernie Sanders worldview. And so what she's really doing is trying to marry both worlds together. And she's saying that, hey, it's that income inequality that leads to people like Donald Trump and leads to people even worse than him. So she's really running a campaign of fear already without any solutions. And to me, that's just, it's just a continuation of what we saw with Kamala Harris, with Hillary Clinton. No vision for the future. And what's funny is she wants to talk about the consolidation of wealth and how income inequality is getting worse, but she doesn't want to talk about the Democrat policies that have led to that. She doesn't want to talk how open borders has taken away opportunities, economic opportunities from Americans. She doesn't want to talk about how over-regulation from the federal government has actually hurt businesses. She doesn't want to talk about how the government, similar to what the corporations are doing, the corporations that she's accusing, how the federal government starts gobbling up parts of the private sector and starts doing their job, and how many of these public-private partnerships go off the rails. I mean, just take a look what's happening in California with the railroad to nowhere. They've spent billions, and how much of that train is done? How much railroad is usable right now after all these years, after all those billions of dollars? Her entire shtick is just jealousy. Just because a billionaire exists, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful. It doesn't mean that there aren't economic opportunities for you. In fact, to me, it tells me the opposite. It says that, hey, there are ladders. The fact that there are more millionaires, and not just in a hard number, but per capita today than in any time in history, tells me there's still opportunity. There's still many ways to, make a living for yourself and just create your own lane with the internet, with AI. And yes, of course, AI is going to be disruptive, but all she's doing right here is trying to use all of these buzzwords, trying to use all of these hot topics to instill a lot of fear and, of course, bash this administration, bash President Trump, and hope that it's going to be a lasting strategy till the Democrat primaries at least. As always, though, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. This is what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So what do you think? Do you think that this was just a coincidence and AOC's in Munich for whatever reason, or do you agree with me? Do you think that this is some sort of test run, some sort of audition, and she's testing the waters and maybe trying to gain the confidence of some of the Democrat Party's top donors? Let me know why you think she's over in Munich down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.